dancing to this, Rich. And Dan, Maxonian, and Maximus. And everybody else, Mark.
Hi, this is Willgray42, and the reason why I'm making this video today is because Demzly SWAC has asked me a few questions, and I decided I was going to answer them for him, and answer them for you, so you get to know me a little bit better. Now, this is going to be a multi-videoed answer, because he asked me a lot of questions, and you can't just answer all of those questions in 10 minutes. It just doesn't work. As a matter of fact, you're only going to find half the answers here on Willgray42. For the rest of the answers, you'll have to go to the way of Gray. Ha 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 ha. First question is about my training. How much training I actually have, where I learned it, what was my inspirations. Well, I was born at the right time for the Star Wars movies to come out and to really affect my young mind. So my first inspiration probably was the Star Wars movies and the lightsabers, the idea of Jedis and so on. You know, and a cool laser sword, yeah! So that Christmas I got a toy lightsaber, and that was my very first practice weapon. And if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm a little weird. I'm a little off than most people. Now, as adults, it just makes me unique. But as a child, it makes me an outcast. And so I spend a lot of my time alone. So I use that to my advantage. You can take anything that is a disadvantage and use it as an advantage, and vice versa. In this particular case, it was being alone. I would take my practice weapon, yes, my toy lightsaber, and I would stand in the backyard by myself. And then I would use my imagination. Now, I'll go into this more on the way of Gray. But for now, I will say that I trained myself. And I did this through fighting imaginary bad guys. I usually used lizard men. I don't know why. They're just a particular favorite of mine. And the lizard men, it would switch up, sometimes mini-men, sometimes just one, would attack me using different methods, different strikes, different styles, and I would learn to defend them and retaliate in any speed I wanted, slow motion, fast motion. I could make more men. Your mind is like your own holodeck, and you have complete control of it. Alright? And so I built a training facility in my head. With the training starting off simple, basic strikes. You know, he'd come in, and he'd attack once. And then once I could block one, then he would attack twice. And then he would attack 3 times. And then he would attack 4 times. And then he would only attack twice, because I would kill him before he could make the 3rd strike, because I could understand and anticipate his movements. Now, this is kind of like playing chess with yourself. It is very, very easy to cheat. But once you learn how not to cheat yourself, this can become an amazing tool to learn from. And I continued on this route until I was about, I'd say, senior in high school. Okay? And so we're looking at what? Something like 10, 11, 12 years of training, 4 to 5 hours a day, physically going through the movements and the motion. But what I was fighting was in my mind. It wasn't until I was a senior in high school that I was actually introduced to a boffer for the very first time during a cast party by a wonderful, wonderful girl, one of my greatest friends, by the name of Melody. And she was the very first person who introduced me to the medium that I still use today. Mind you, it's changed and mutated. But it's what I use because It allowed me to actually fight another person and a friend of mine and be able to attack and strike and use the knowledge that I've had and, you know, attack them. And yet, once the fight was over, they'd get up and they'd smile and go, "Oh, wow, you got me good." Yet, it was a still real fight. It was a... There's some things you can't learn unless you're actually in the heat of battle. You can read a book about swimming and then jump into a river and you'll drown. I mean, there's some things that the only way that you can learn them is with a real fight, a real thing going on, and thus began the next part of my training. Now, because I had had so many hours logged of fighting and understanding movement and understanding strikes and how they move and what leaves you open with those moves, anything that they would throw at me, I would slap down. And one of the last times I fought that group, those people I knew in high school, I systematically went through them one by one and took them all down. Even with them cheating. And it didn't change the fact. But the reason why is because I'd put so many hours into training. And another one of the questions that Demzly has asked me is, anyone who's just now getting into martial arts, is there any sort of training exercise that I can suggest? And any sort of inspirational words. Now, what I want to say for the training, right, is the key to martial arts, to life, to everything, is that you can only become what you believe you can become. Alright? You see, there's a difference between thinking that you're something, knowing that you're something, and being something. This is so fundamentally important and yet so simple. Yet it is usually the bane in everyone's existence. Alright? If you tell yourself, "Oh man, I can't learn ninjutsu, it's too hard." Okay, you've already failed. Alright? If you say, "Oh, I can't do a spinning side kick because I'm too fat, or too big, or too dumb, or too whatever," you've already failed. Alright? There's nothing you can do past that. You have to step into it. You have to move into it going, "I can do it. With training I can learn. If I have the opportunity to learn, I will succeed." And now you can. Alright? That is so important. And the other part is really, really having it be a part of yourself. One of our martial arts family, Mountainous, hey Jason, how's it going, buddy? Has turned his home into a dojo. He lives it. Alright? And so he is one of the people who inspire me, which is another question of Demzly's. Another person who inspires me is also Wushu Richard. I love that man. Alright? Both of them give of themselves and give of their own knowledge to help other people train. So if you are going to be someone who's going to get involved and is someone who wants to learn martial arts, find someone who gives because they enjoy giving, not because they're getting paid. Find someone who understands the joy of what you want to learn. Someone who wants to see you succeed. Someone who judges their own worth by how much they can give. Alright? These people inspire me. These people are the ones who I say find them, seek them out, learn from them. Because everyone else will eventually do you wrong. They'll train you wrong. They'll instill in you ideas that have nothing to do with martial arts.